Remember when I talked about the media influence hierarchy a few weeks ago? If not, here's a link to the video. Well, apparently, I like my hierarchies. Because this week, we're looking at the hierarchy of communication. Yes, email, Zoom, calls, in-person meetings. With so many options, it's helpful to use a hierarchy to determine your strategies. How I should act if I want to engage my base in action, influence a politician, communicate updates or changes. Do you have a hierarchy of communication? Do you want to find out if it agrees with mine? Stick around and let's see. Hi everyone, I'm David Smith and I run Inthrive Advocacy Solutions, your solution for lobbying, advocacy, and strategic planning. Before launching this firm, I was leading advocates in Virginia and we brought real changes to our criminal justice system. I also worked for a senior legislator in the House of Delegates where I ran her commerce and energy docket. Now, I'm bringing what I've learned through mentors and hard knocks to you. Welcome to Better Advocacy in 10 minutes or less, a series of videos helping you become a better advocate so you can turn your passion into policy. Today, we're exploring the hierarchy of communication with some caveats. All right, let's get right to it. From the most persuasive to least persuasive, but even the least persuasive are still useful, we have an in-person meeting, a video or phone call, personal email, and mass email. Okay, so let's start at the top with those in-person meetings. So these are key to creating relationships that can influence policy. And yes, I said in person. I know it can be difficult to be in person for a meeting. I'm in Virginia, and it's a 10-hour drive from one side of the state to the other. But it's worth it if you need to build support for your policy. You see, in these meetings, you want to talk policy, but you also want to be personal. Showing up in a politician's home district shows them you're serious about building the relationship. It also allows you to genuinely compliment them about things that stood out to you from their area. People, scenery, industry. You get the idea. Something that allows them to see you as more than just a person with an agenda. When you get to the policy, be ready with that one-pager. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of one-pagers here, but you can check out the link to the video I've already done on this. Now, don't read it word for word, but point out an infographic or quote or press piece. Allow them to ask questions and let the conversation flow, but give them time to reflect on what you're sharing. Read their body language, not that type of body language, but you know what I mean, and respond accordingly. If they look bored, try another angle. If they look confused, ask probing questions. If they look supportive, make an ask. These in-person conversations are the most effective at influencing politicians because you're able to build your relationship and can better see where they need help in coming to your side. Next up is the phone call or virtual meeting, these video meetings. I used to think the virtual meetings were almost equivalent to in-person meetings. You have FaceTime. You can sort of read body language. But after a bunch of these virtual meetings with politicians, I realized two things. Maybe it's just me, but the authentic small talk that builds relationships is much harder to do on a screen or over the phone. And also, politicians will sometimes, but not always, just sometimes, use these for meetings they're not interested in. I've seen them paying more attention to other parts of their computer screen than our conversation. Now, these were criminal justice reform conversations with some of the most hardline members of the legislature, so I was happy just to get the meeting. Of course, there are times when phone calls or virtual meetings can be as effective, if not more effective, than an in-person meeting. Yes, this is one of these caveats I was talking about. If you already have a good relationship with a politician and their staff, and you're simply communicating information, or maybe you're clarifying details, then these phone calls or virtual meetings are great. They're better than in person because you can do them more efficiently. No travel time, waiting for people to be ready. You get the idea. And it's faster than a series of back and forth emails needed to clarify those questions or expand on ideas. All right, now let's talk emails. There are two types of emails. You've got your personal email and your mass email. A personal email is one you're sending to an individual politician. If you're trying to influence a politician that you don't have a relationship with, an individual email is just about as pointless as sunglasses at night. Unless, here's another caveat, unless you're asking for a meeting. In that case, an individual email is great. If you're making a policy ask and the politician doesn't know you and you don't identify yourself as a constituent, then it's going to be ignored. Even with as few constituents as a state house member in Virginia has, these emails, those ones that were not from constituents but were policy based and we didn't have a relationship with them, they were pretty much ignored universally. I mean, they might get tallied, but no one is responding to them or taking them seriously. If you do have a relationship with a politician, an email is a great way to update them on what you think about certain issues. During session, emails are often better than leaving a voicemail if you need to give an update. Just ask for a reply so you know it's been seen. All right, now mass emails. These are the ones that you send out to a bunch of people, like all the legislators on a committee. These really don't move the needle for politicians. It's that whole, how many signatures does it take to move a politician's vote thing? I explained that on the video on using petitions, and it's a lot. You can check out the link here if you want to find out more about that. But mass emails are great for communicating with your base. But sending out a mass email to the legislators, or even having your members send the same email to a bunch of legislators, won't really change their minds. But here's another caveat. It will get you noticed and may open the door to more meetings and conversations in the future. But you're not going to change votes right away. So here it is, time for that caveat with the story. Now, in Virginia, we were getting nowhere on solitary confinement reform. It was a niche issue that neither party wanted to touch. Then we mobilized our base and they sent hundreds of emails to legislators. We had the second most emails of any issue that year. This got the legislators' attention, and suddenly we were being invited to key meetings with key legislators and committee staff and administration officials. It still took a couple more years to get meaningful legislation passed, but those emails were the key to really move the needle. But as I said, you gotta have a lot of them. You've got to be flooding those email boxes. So another way to use mass emails effectively is having your organization or coalition send out policy position emails before session and then regular updates during session. Yes, it's a mass email, but these are recognized by politicians and their staff as being informative and authoritative. Now, I'll cover policy position emails in another video, but basically, it's an email that has your org's info on it and whether you support, oppose, or are neutral on legislation related to your area of advocacy. These are helpful because they can flag bills that politicians may have missed, and they can quickly refer to them to see where public sentiment is. You don't need to have a massive base of supporters either. Just a well-presented, concise email will build your brand and convey your message to the politicians. Okay, so maybe this hierarchy wasn't as straightforward as the others. But when you're looking to influence politicians, it comes down to two rules of thumb. Build your relationship and be respectful of their time. When you make your communication choices with these in mind, you will always choose the most effective way to communicate with a politician. All right, I hope this short video has helped you understand my hierarchy of communication for influencing politicians and how you can use it strategically. What do you think? Do I put too much emphasis on in-person meetings and not enough on emails? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to the Inthrive Advocacy channel to get notifications of new videos. Be sure to check back every Friday for a new Better Advocacy in 10 minutes or less video.